by Sukadeva Goswami. And Prabhupada writes very elaborately about the Vedas. Now, 4 words I think we have done. We have done. Now we'll do. We have done 4 words.
Yes,
Yes.
Mataji.
Fifth to
Start
start.
fifth.
Verse. तस्मात् भारत सर्वात्मा भगवानीश्वरो हरिः श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्यश्च स्मर्तव्यश्चेत् स्मर्तव्यश्च चेताभयम् स्मर्तव्यश्चेच्छताभयम्. Similar verse is there in the first canto Bhagavad, second chapter. तस्मादेकेन मनसा भगवान् साधुकां प्रति श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्यश्च ध्येय पूज्यश्च नित्यदा. 4 activities is only there for a person. Shrotabhya, hearing. Kirtitavyascha, chanting his name. Pujaschya, worshipping him. And meditating upon him. That is Vartavya. So here also it is said, Tasmat. Tasmat is therefore, what a person should do. If he has to be free from all the miseries, Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari. He has to meditate upon Hari. Hari is one who removes all our miseries. Harati, Hari. So for that, Shrotavya is very important. We should be always eager to hear. Kirtitavya, always eager to glorify. Smartavya, always eager to remember him. Ichhataha abhayam. So if a person desires abhayam. Now see, abhayam means fearlessness. Abhayam also means freedom. Abhayam. A person, Srila Prabhupada here intentionally writes freedom instead of fearless. So a person may say, oh, I am fearless. I am there in my house, but I am fearless. Fearlessness can only happen if we are free from all this material entanglement. When a person is taking shelter of Lord, then only gets this title of Abhayam. Okay. Why Prabhupada has written freedom here? Because still here, entanglement has been spoken. A person who is not, in the previous verse, you see, if he is devoid of Atma Tattva, he is not inquiring into any problems of life. And what happens? He's too much attached. The fallible soldiers like body, children, and mind. That means he's entangled. That is why here Abhayam refers to freedom. Adi Satviki Mataji, can you read?
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam is nice seeing your lotus face. I cannot see your lotus feet, but I can pay my obeisances.
Lotus is compared to Krishna, not a Jivatma. Conditions.
Definitely lotus face, yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for coming back, and it's very, very nice. You made my day. Thank you, Mataji. Shloka, text 5. Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagwaneshwara Harihi Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavyascha Tabhayam. Takes translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O descendant of King Bharata, one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller, and the savior from all miseries. Purport. In the previous verse, Srila Sukadeva Goswami has described how the foolish materially attached men are wasting their valuable time in the improvement of the material conditions of life by sleeping, indulging in sex life, developing economic conditions, and maintaining a band of relatives who are to be vanquished in the air of oblivion. Being engaged in all these materialistic activities, the living soul entangles himself in the cycle of the law of fruitive actions. These entails the chain of birth and death in the 84 million species of life. The aquatics, the vegetables, the reptiles, the birds, the beasts, the uncivilized man, and then again the human form, which is the chance for getting out of the cycle of fruitive action. Therefore, if one desires freedom from this vicious circle, then one must cease to act as a karmi or enjoyer of the results of one's own work, good or bad. One should not do anything, either good or bad, or on his own account, but must execute everything on behalf of the Supreme Lord, the ultimate proprietor of everything that be. This process of doing work is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita 9:27 also, where instruction is given for working on the Lord's account. Therefore, one should first of all hear about the Lord. When one has perfectly and scrutinizingly heard, one must glorify his acts and deeds. And thus it will become possible to remember constantly the transcendental nature of the Lord. Hearing about the glorifying of the Lord are identical with the transcendental nature of the Lord. And by so doing, one will be always in the association of Lord. This brings freedom from all sorts of fear. The Lord is the super soul, Paramatma, present in the hearts of all living beings. And thus, by the above hearing and glorifying process, the Lord invites the association of all in his creation. This process of hearing about and glorifying the Lord is applicable for everyone, whoever he may be, and it will lead one to the ultimate success in everything in which one may be engaged by providence. There are many classes of human beings: the fruitive workers, the empiric philosophers, the mystics, yogis, and ultimately the unalloyed devotees. For all of them, one and the same process is applicable for achieving the desired success. Everyone wants to be free from all kinds of fear, and everyone wants the fullest extent of happiness in life. The perfect process for achieving this here and now is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is uttered by such a great authority as Srila Shukadeva Goswami by hearing about and glorifying the Lord. All a person's activities become molded into spiritual activities. And thus, all conceptions of material miseries become completely vanquished. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Okay. Now, the most important verse, 6th verse. एतावान् साङ्ख्ययोगाभ्यां स्वधर्मपरिनिष्ठया जन्मलाभपरं पुंसाम् अन्ते नारायणस्मृतिः. Person may be a jnani, he can be a yogi. Yogabhyam, Sankhya means jnani. Yogabhyam means a yogi. Swadharma parinishthaya karmi. So jnani, yogi, karmi. Janma labh. What is the highest perfection of getting a human body? Janma. Janma means human body. The birth as a human body. So janma, getting a birth as a human. Labha means what is the highest perfection? Paraha. Labha paraha. For a person, Pumsam, Ante Narayana Smritihi, is to remember the Supreme Personality of God at the end of life. So for that, he should have that fortune of having association of a devotee. If he has association of a devotee, then yes, a jnani, a yogi, or a karmi attains perfection. Bhavunam janmanam ante jnanvan man prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samatma sudurlabha. Thousands of births, even if a jnani takes, It is very difficult to understand. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samatma Sudurla. The same Vasudev has a wonderful form. The same Vasudev is all pervading. The same Vasudev is situated in everyone's heart as Paramatma. So for this, it requires a lot of sukruti, a lot of fortune to have association of a devotee, and it is the work of a devotee to get what he has got. He has got the holy name, he has to give the things what he has got. The same holy name should be spread. So the work of a devotee is somehow jiva uddhara, para because one of the offenses is jiva prada. If I don't have compassion towards a living entity, then I'm doing jiva prada. Somebody showed me compassion, isn't it? That is why I'm chanting. So every one of us, somebody has shown us compassion, engaged us in devotional activity. That is why we are chanting. And that is how Srila Prabhupada, he showed mercy to everyone. And Srila Prabhupada's disciples of the disciples, they are showing mercy. So this mercy, it is our duty to give to others also. Okay. And somehow, if he remembers Lord at the time of at the end of quitting the life, these jnanis, yogis, and the karmis, their life has been perfected. For a devotee, it has been clearly said by Varadaraj Perumal in the sixth Mahavakya, a devotee need not remember Krishna at the time of quitting the body. Why? He is not forgotten. You remember something which you are forcing yourself to remember. You have not forgotten. Where is the question of remembering? And Krishna very clearly says in Varaha Puran, यदि वातादि दोषेण मद्भक्तो मां न च स्मरेत्. यदि वातादि दोषेण, वातादि means vata, kapha, pitta, some doshas are there. यदि वातादि दोषेण मद्भक्तो, my devotees, मद्भक्तो मां न च स्मरेत्, is not able to remember. Suppose a devotee is not able to remember at the time of quitting the body because of some doshas, health problem. Krishna says, Aham smarami mad bhaktaha nayami paramam. I will remember the devotee. I will not forget the devotion done by the devotee. Krishna promises this. So Varaha Puran is the highest compassion. Compassion act. The highest statement of compassion has been expressed in Varaha Puran. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarvadharman prityajya mamekam sharanam vraja am tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshishami. You give up everything, you come to me. Suppose a person is not able to give up everything. Then Ramayana shows a little more compassion. Tell the verse of Ramayana, Narayana, immediately.
Even I forgot Mataji.
No.
Just now.
Very
Satyadeva Prabannaya
Prabannaya
Tavasmicha.
Tavasmita Yachate. Abhayam Sarvada Tasmai Dadami. Urdu remembers. Nayana Manjari knows. Sakradeva Prapannoyas. Even if I'm not doing much, but just coming and saying, Tavasmita Yachate, I am just yours, O Lord. I am yours. You have not done anything. Just standing before Lord and saying, I am yours. Lord says, Abhayam, Abhayam, I'll give you Abhayam. And the highest compassion is there in the Varaha Puran, even if you are not able to remember. At the time of quitting the body, I take it as a personal responsibility. So for Jnanis, Yogis, and Karmis, what is it? How the perfection can come? Only when they have association of devotees. Okay. So Ashoka Neja Prabhu, please read.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम एतावान सांख्य योगाभ्याम सर्वधर्म परिनिष्ठया जन्म लाभ पराम पुंसाम अन्ते नारायण स्मृति. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic paths, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Purport. Narayana is the transcendental personality of Godhead beyond the material creation. Everything that is created, sustained, and at the end annihilated, is within the compass of the Mahat Tattva material principle and is known as the material world. The existence of Narayana or the personality of Godhead is not within the jurisdiction of this Mahat Tattva, and as such, the name, form, attributes, etc. of Narayana are beyond the jurisdiction of the material world. By the speculation of empiric philosophy, which discerns matter from spirit, or by cultivation of mystic powers, which ultimately helps the performer to reach any planet of the universe or beyond the universe, or by discharge of religious duties, one can achieve the highest perfection, provided one is able to reach the stage of Narayana Smriti or constant remembrance of the personality of Godhead. This is possible only by the association of a pure devotee who can give a finishing touch to the transcendental activities of all jnanis, yogis, karmis in terms of prescribed duties defined in the scriptures. There are many historical instances of the achievement of spiritual perfection, such as that of Sanakadi Rishi or the nine celebrated Yogendras who attained perfection only after being situated in the devotional service of the Lord. None of the devotees of the Lord ever deviated from the path of devotional service by taking to other methods as adopted by the Gyanis or Yogis. Everyone is anxious to achieve the highest perfection of his particular activity, and it is indicated herein that such perfection is Narayana Smriti, for which everyone must endeavor his best. In other words, life should be molded in such a manner that one is able to progressively remember the personality of Godhead in every step of life. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So in every step of life, a person should remember Krishna. That is how Anta Narayana Smriti he can happen. That's easy to do, remember Krishna at the time of putting the body. Prana Prayana Samaya Kapavati Pittai Kantavarodhan Vadu Smaranam Taste. Krishna says, Krishna Todiya Pada Pankaja Panjananta Madhyaiva Me Vishnu Manas Rajahams. Prana Prayana Samaye Kapavata Pittai Kantavarodhana Vadu Smaranam Taste. When the body is healthy, remember, at the time of quitting the body, we don't know what state of life it will be, what state of condition our body will be. Seventh, Prayena Munayo Rajanya Prukta Vidhi Vikshedatah Nairgunyastharamante Sma Gunanukatane Hare. Prayena mainly Munayaha, all sages, Raja, king, Nivruttaha, above, Vidhi, regulatory principles, Sedataha, from restrictions, Nairgunyastha, transcendentally situated, Ramanti, take pleasure in, Sma, distinctly, Guna Anukathane, describing the glories Hare of the. So, O King Parikshit, mainly the topmost transcendentalists, who are above the regulatory principles and restrictions, take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. So they are above regulatory principles. Regulatory principles, no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex, no gambling. They are not just in that now, they are above. They have transcended all these things. Restrictions, they are above all these restrictions also. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagra, jana sangarsha laulyamcha, all these no restrictions means 90, don't do this, don't do that. They're above all these things. They have crossed all these things. So for them, what is the work? Their work is only glorifying Krishna. Their work is that. And they are not entangled in just one has to wake up early in the morning. All these restrictions, all these regulations, they have crossed all these things. Their work is only devotional service. Rules and regulations is Vaidhi Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti, even the sadhana Bhakti, Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous love for Lord is there for them. They don't have to be told, you do this, you do that. No. They are above all these things. And in the bhava avastha, prema avastha, and naturally they have crossed even raganuga stage. Raganuga Vaidhi Bhakti is following the following the Ragatmika Bhaktas. Ragatmikas are those who are Parshadas of Krishna, Vajabasis. So they have crossed even that also. They are now Bhavavastha. So Bhavavastha is the ray of the Prema. When they cross even that also, they are the Prema Avastha. Their work is only glorifying Krishna. The same way in the Bhavavastha, their work is glorifying Krishna. Even in the Vaidhi sadhana also they will be doing, but not to much extent. Somewhere here and there. But Raganuga, yes, they will be glorifying Lord. Their work is that one. Okay. Krishna Priya Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji. प्रायेण मुनयो राजन्निवृत्ता विधिषेधदतः निर्गुण्यस्थारमन्तस्मय गुणानुकथने हरे. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O King Parikshit, mainly the topmost transcendentalists who are above the regulative principles and restrictions take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. Purport. The topmost transcendentalists is a liberated soul and is therefore not within the purview of the regulative principles. A Neophyte who is intended to be promoted to the spiritual plane is guided by the spiritual master under regulative principles. He may be compared to a patient who is treated by various restrictions under medical jurisdiction. Generally, liberated soul also take pleasure in describing the transcendental activities. As mentioned above, since Narayana, Hari, the personality of Godhead, is beyond the material creation, his form and attributes are not material. The topmost transcendentalists or the liberated souls realize him by advanced experience of transcendental knowledge, and therefore they take pleasure in the discussion of the transcendental qualities of the Lord pastimes. In the Bhagavad Gita 4.9, the personality of Godhead declares that his appearance and activities are all divyam or transcendental. The common man who is under the spell of material energy takes it for granted that the Lord is like one of us, and therefore he refuses to accept the transcendental nature of the Lord's form, name, etc. The topmost transcendentalists is not interested in anything material, and his taking interest in the matter of the Lord's activities is definite proof that the Lord is not like one of us in the material world. In the Vedic literature also, it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is one, but that he is engaged in his transcendental pastimes in the company of his unalloyed devotee, and that simultaneously is present as the Supreme Soul and expansion of Baladeva in the heart of all living entities. Therefore, the highest perfection of transcendental realization is to take pleasure in hearing and describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and not in merging into his impersonal Brahman existence, for which the personalist monist aspires. Real transcendental pleasure is realized in the glorification of the transcendental Lord, and not in the feeling of being situated in his impersonal feature. But there are also others who are not the topmost transcendentalists, but are in a lower state, who do not take pleasure in describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. Rather, they discuss such activities of Lord firmly with the aim of merging into his existence. Hare Krishna.
Next one. Idam Bhagavatam Lava Puranam Brahma Samhitam Aditavan Dvaparado Piturdvai Piturdvai Payanagah Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam. This Bhagavatam Nama Puranam. This is one of the Vedic supplement Purana. It is Brahma Samhitam. It is approved as the essence of Vedas. It is Bhagavatam. It is essence of Vedas. So this is equal to Vedas. And I have studied this Aditavan. Dwapar Adav at the end of Dwaparika. From whom? Pituhu, from my father. And who is my father? Dvaipayana. That is Dvaipayana Vyasadeva. Myself. Even I studied. Chaturshloki Bhagavatam is given by whom? Vedavyasa to his son Sukadeva Goswami. So it is Sukadeva Goswami who, it is Vyasa who taught Bhagavatam to Sukadeva Goswami. As a Sukadeva Goswami has heard the whole Bhagavatam in the jungles of Bhubaneswar from Lord Shiva. He is the parrot. He comes out of the egg and descends to the whole Bhagavatam. But when Lord Shiva sees, oh, Parvati is sleeping, and I had kept a condition, nobody else except Parvati should hear. So there, when he sees this parrot hearing, Lord Shiva had drawn out all the animals, all the birds. This bird was in the egg. Bhagavatam began, the egg burst, and this Sukha comes out and hears to the Bhagavatam. The condition was, this Mukar should be done by, like this by Parvati. And she started sleeping. And so the also started vanishing. So here this bird started doing that. In this bird, which is a parrot of Radharani, heard the whole Bhagavatam, heard the whole Leelas of Lord. So and then studied Bhagavatam. Studied Bhagavatam under the care of his father. Okay. So now just see, after mentioning Grahamedis, why is he saying I studied Bhagavatam under the care of my father? To teach that it is the work of the Grahasthas to beget children and teach them Krishna consciousness. Which Vyasa did that. And it is devotees' duty to teach children, their children first. Sometimes you see devotees, they do all the services, their children go here and there. There it is their work to teach their children first. Charity begins at home. Show the first compassion to whom? To first your children, then to the whole world. If some Asura is born, we cannot do anything. But at least the parents can try out. Nowadays, Asuras are also not like Ravana or Hiranyakashipu. So we'll not find that Asuras in the house also. We can somehow mold them. Yena kena prakarena, give Krishna consciousness to the children. Either by giving good prasadam, making them do some service for Lord, they'll do it. Because in Kali Yuga, everybody wants Lord when they are in some difficulty. Nobody is a pakka artist choice. So we cannot say that our children are not taking up. We are not giving it. We should know how to give. Without disturbing the mind of an ignorant person, engage him. Very clearly it has been given in Bhagavad Gita. Don't disturb the mind of ignorant person. But somehow engage him in Krishna consciousness. Because in Kali Yuga, nobody is as asuric as in other yugas. And nobody is as divine also as in other yugas. Or a 50-50. That is why you have a biscuit also, crackjack. 50. Everything is 50-50. Nobody is as divine as Prahlad. Nobody is as asuric as Hiranyakashipu. So at least some devotion should be given. Here he says, my father taught me Vedas. My father taught me the essence of Vedas. It is Bhagavatam. Okay. Vipala, read.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Idam Bhagavatam Nam Puranam Brahma Samhitam Adhitvan Dwaparadav Piturdev Devapayanadaham. Translation: At the end of the Dwapar Yuga, I studied this great supplement of Vedic literature of the name Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas from my father, Sri Dvaipayan Vyasadeva. Purport: the statement made by Sri Shukdev Goswami that the topmost transcendentalist, who is beyond the jurisdiction of regulations and restrictions, mainly takes to the task of hearing about and glorifying the personality of Godhead, is verified by his personal example. Shukdev Goswami, being a recognized liberated soul and the topmost transcendentalist, was accepted by all the topmost sages present in the meeting during the last 7 days of Maharaj Parikshit. He cites from the example of his life that he himself was attracted by the transcendental activities of the Lord, and he studied Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father, Sri Dvaipayan Vyasdev. Srimad Bhagavatam, or for that matter, any other scientific literature, cannot be studied at home by one's own intellectual capacity. Medical books of anatomy or physiology are available in the market, but no one can become a qualified medical practitioner simply by reading such books at home. One has to be admitted to the medical college and study the books under the guidance of learned professors. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, the postgraduate study of the science of Godhead, can only be learned by studying it at the feet of a realized soul like Sri Vyasadeva. Although Shukdev Goswami was a liberated soul from the very day of his birth, he still had to take lessons of Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father Vyasadeva, who compiled the Srimad Bhagavatam under the instruction of another great soul, Sri Narad Muni. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed a learned Brahmana to study Srimad Bhagavatam from a personal Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is based on the transcendental name, form, attributes, pastimes, entourage, and variegatedness of the Supreme Person, and it is spoken by the incarnation of the personality of Godhead, Sri Vyasadeva. Pastimes of the Lord are executed in cooperation with his pure devotees, and consequently, historical incidences are mentioned in this great literature because they are related to Krishna. It is called Brahma Samhitam because it is the sound representative of Lord Krishna, like the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the sound incarnation of the Lord because it is spoken by the Supreme Lord, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the sound representative of the Lord because it was spoken by the incarnation of the Lord about the activities of the Lord. As stated in the beginning of this book, it is the essence of the Vedic desire tree and the natural commentation on the Brahma Sutras, the topmost philosophical thesis on the subject matter of Brahman. Vyasadeva appeared at the end of Dwapar Yuga as the son of Satyavati, and therefore the word Dwapar Adau, or beginning of Dwapar Yuga, in this context means just prior to the beginning of the Kali Yuga. The logic of this statement is, according to Sri Jiv Goswami, comparable to calling the upper portion of the tree the beginning. The root of the tree is the beginning of the tree, but in common knowledge, the upper portion of the tree is the first seen. In that way, the end of the tree is accepted as its beginning. Hare Krishna.
15th chapter speaks about in the Bhagavad Gita how the original tree is upside down. Urdhva Mula Shakam Shlokam Prahurabhyayam. So Urdhva Mula, the root which is down is the base, and there the root which is up is the base, the material world. That is how the other Shakam, the root which is now upside down, that became the base for all the creation. The stems are compared to the three modes and all those things are there. Leaves are there as the Vedas go through. In this way, the whole planetary system has been formed. How a person gets entangled, how he can become free. The chapter begins with that. 9th verse. Parinishthitopi nairgunya tamashloka lilaya गृहीतचेता राजर्षे आख्यानं यदधीतवान्. Parinishta devotee. What is the meaning of Parinishta? He is fully realized, even though api nairgunye, even though he must be in transcendence. Uttama shloka leelaya, uttama shloka leelaya, grihita. Even though he may be fully realized, but still he is attracted to leelaya, the pastimes of Lord. There is a verse Atma Ramascha Muneo. We have the Atma Ram verse. Jumur chant the verse. Atma Ramascha Muneo. Chant. Kusum chant. The verse.
आत्मारामस्य मुनयो निर्गन्थ अपि रुक्मे कुर्वन्तः किं भक्तिम् इत्थं भूतगुणो हरिः.
She is Bhakti Vaibhav Bhakti Shastri also. Nirgrantha api urukramaha. Though he is Nirgrantha, he is Atmaram. He is self-realized. But when it comes to hearing the Lord, about Lord, Ittam Bhuta Guno Hari. He is very much attracted to hear about Lord. Gruhita Chetaha. In this way, he is attracted. Cheta means it is attention. Rajarshe Akhyanam Yar Aditavan. So Rajarshi, Rajarishi, that is, he's speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. So I was also attracted to this Akhyanam. Akhyanam means to this delineation, that means to this Akhyanam, what you say? When you do a preaching activity, that is known as Akhyanam. When you're describing, that is known as Akhyanam. So I was very much attracted. And in this way I studied. Though I was a liberated person, I was certainly situated perfectly in transcendence. Yet I was still attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord, who is described by enlightened verses. Okay, that is why Krishna's one of the name is Uttama Shloka. One who is described by choicest of the choicest words. Uttama Shloka, or whatever words are used in description of Krishna, that becomes Uttama. Uttama means beyond this material world, beyond these three modes of material nature. Okay. So some read.
हरे कृष्ण माता जी दंडवत प्रणाम. परिनिष्ठितोऽपि नैर्गुण्य उत्तमा श्लोकलीलया गृहीता चेतराजसे आख्यानं यत् अधीतवान्. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O saintly king, I was certainly situated perfectly in transcendence, yet I was still attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord, who is described by enlightened verses. Purport: the absolute truth is realized as the impersonal Brahman at the first instance by philosophical speculation, and later as the super soul by further progress of transcendental knowledge. But if by the grace of the Lord an impersonalist
Your voice is not heard.
is enlightened by the superior statements of Srimad Bhagavatam, he is also converted into a transcendental devotee of the personality of Godhead. With the poor
Your
fund of knowledge, we cannot adjust absolute truth, and the of the Lord are deplored by the less intelligent impersonalists, but reasons and
Kusum, your voice
arguments
is
together
breaking.
with the transcendental
From
process
here and Vimla
of
read. So
approaching the axionalist
wait.
to become attracted,
Kusum, I'm not able to hear also. Kusum, can you wait? Wait.
not coming.
Your half voice is breaking. Wait. Mute your phone. Vimla read. Vimla, unmute and read. Unmute.
Yes.
Read. With a poor fund of knowledge, we cannot adjust the idea of the from there you read.
But reasons and arguments together with the transcendental process of approaching the absolute truth help even the staunch impersonalist to become attracted by the personal activities of the Lord. A person like Shukdev Goswami cannot be attracted by any mundane activities, but when such a devotee is convinced by superior method, he is certainly attracted by the transcendental activities of the Lord. The Lord is transcendental as are his activities. He is neither inactive nor impersonal.
Okay, the last verse now. Tadaham te vidhasyami महापौरुषिको भवान् अस्यः श्रद्धरतामाशु स्यान् मुकुन्दे मतिः सती तत् that I te unto you abhidasyami I shall recite the same to you Mahapaurishikah the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna who Bhavan yourself asya of which Shraddhadatam Shraddhadhatam one who gives full respect and attention Ashu very soon Sat it so becomes Mukunde unto the Lord who awards salvation. Mati faith, Sati unflinching. So I'm going to recite before you the same Srimad Bhagavatam because you are most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna. One who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. So one should be eager to hear at the same time with full attention and respect. Okay, this is the qualification for a hearer and qualification of a speaker. He should have heard the disciplic succession. Now see, everything is put. I have heard, so I'll speak. You can hear only when you are attentive and you are sincere. Simple. Qualification of the speaker is he should have heard it before, even though he may be a realized soul. He has to hear and he has to speak what he has heard. The qualification of the listener is he should be eager, he should be attentive, and he should have due respect. Okay, Narayan Damodar, read.
Yes, Mataji.
And two
Tadaham
verses
te
of Chaitanya Charitamrita has been put that you more will chant. Yeah.
तदहं तेऽभिधास्यामि महापौरुषिको भवान् यस्य श्रद्धा धताम् आशु स्यान्मुकुन्दे मतिः सती. Purport and translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. That very Srimad Bhagavatam I shall recite before you because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna. One who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. Srimad Bhagavatam is recognized Vedic wisdom, and the system of receiving Vedic knowledge is called Avaroha Pantaha, or the process of receiving transcendental knowledge through bona fide disciplic succession. For advancement of material knowledge, there is a need for personal ability and researching aptitude. But in the case of spiritual knowledge, all progress depends more or less on the mercy of the spiritual master. The spiritual master must be satisfied with the disciple. Only then is the knowledge automatically manifest before the student of spiritual science. The process should not, however, be misunderstood to be something like magical feats, whereby the spiritual master acts like a magician and injects spiritual knowledge into the disciple as if surcharging him with an electrical current. The bona fide spiritual master reasonably explains everything to the disciple on the authorities of Vedic wisdom. The disciple can receive such teachings not exactly intellectually, but by submissive inquiries and a service attitude. The idea is that both the spiritual master and the disciple must be bona fide. In this case, the spiritual master Shukadev Goswami is ready to recite exactly what he has learned from his great father Srila Vyasadeva And the disciple, Maharaj Parikshit, is a great devotee of Lord Krishna. A devotee of Lord Krishna is he who believes sincerely that by becoming a devotee of the Lord, one becomes fully equipped with everything spiritual. This teaching is imparted by the Lord Himself in the pages of Bhagavad Gita, in which it is clearly described that the Lord Sri Krishna is everything, and to surrender unto Him solely and wholly makes one the most perfectly pious man. This unflinching faith in Lord Krishna prepares one to become a student of Srimad Bhagavatam, and one who hears Srimad Bhagavatam from a devotee like Shukadev Goswami is sure to attain salvation at the end, as Maharaj Parikshit did. The professional reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam and the pseudo devotees whose faith is based on 1 week's hearing are different from Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. Srila Vyasadeva explained Srimad Bhagavatam unto Sukadev Goswami from the very beginning of the Janmadasya verse, and so Shukadev Goswami also explained it to the king. Lord Krishna is described as the Mahapurusha in Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 11 in his devotional feature as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna himself in his devotional attitude, descended on earth to bestow special favors upon the fallen souls of this age of Kali. There are two verses particularly suitable to offer as prayers to this Mahapurusha feature of Lord Krishna. Dhyeyam sada paribhava dhanam abhishtadoham tirthaspadam shivavirinchi nutam sharanyam भृत्यार्तिहं प्रणतपाल भवाब्दिपोतम वंदे महापुरुषते चरणारविंदम
Askas, we
त्यक्त्वा
need thanks about this verse. Lakshmi.
त्यक्त्वा त्यक्त्वा सुदुष्टज्य सुरे सुरेप्सितराज्यलक्ष्मीं धर्मिष्ठ आर्यवचसा यदगादरण्यं मायामृगं दयित येप्सितम् अन्वदावद् वन्दे महापुरुषते चरणारविन्दम्. In other words, Purusha means the enjoyer, and Mahapurusha means the supreme enjoyer or the supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. One who deserves to approach the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is called Paurushika. Anyone who hears Srimad Bhagavatam attentively from its bona fide reciter is sure to become a sincere devotee of the Lord who is able to award liberation. There are none so there was none so attentive as Maharaj Parikshit in the matter of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and there was none so qualified as Shukadev Goswami to recite the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, anyone who follows in the footsteps of either the ideal reciter or the ideal hearer, Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit respectively, will undoubtedly attain salvation like them. Maharaj Parikshit attained salvation by hearing only, and Shukadev Goswami attained salvation only by reciting. Recitation and hearing are two processes out of 9 devotional activities, and by strenuously following the principles, either in all or by parts, one can attain the absolute plane. So, the complete text of Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning with the Janmadasya verse up to the last one in the 12th canto, was spoken by Shukadev Goswami for the attainment of salvation by Maharaj Parikshit. In the Padma Puran, it is mentioned that Gautama Muni advised Maharaj Ambarish to hear regularly Srimad Bhagavatam as it was recited by Shukadev Goswami, and herein it is confirmed that Maharaj Ambarish heard Srimad Bhagavatam from the very beginning to the end, as it was spoken by Shukadev Goswami. One who is actually interested in Bhagavatam, therefore, must not play with it by reading or hearing a portion from here and a portion from there. One must follow in the footsteps of great kings like Maharaj Ambarish or Maharaj Parikshit and hear it from a bona fide representative of Shukadev Goswami. Hare Krishna.
Then somebody asked me, can I come and speak Bhagavatam in your temple? It's a Karmakandi Brahman. He said, first follow the Vaishnava lineage and then you can speak. Ambi Ravanandi, the Karmakandi Brahmana. So many want to speak, but it doesn't work. You go here, you do that also, you do this worship, you do that worship. Bhagavatam requires a speaker like Sukadeva, one who is completely for Krishna, of Krishna, by Krishna. And the same way, the hearer also should be like Parikshit Maharaj, one pointed attention. That is why we should follow their footprints. Mahajano yena gatasamantaha. One has to follow the 12 Mahajanas, in which Sukadeva Goswami is also one of the Mahajanas. Okay. Okay. So these two verses, they are from 11th canto Bhagavatam, which is the proof of the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These two verses are chanted every day in the morning when we do Chaitanya Bhagavat class. Deyam sada paribhavakram abhishtadoham. So all these verses, when it comes to God Purnima, we'll discuss these two verses. Okay, keep these verses for God Purnima. And remind me that you want to chant these verses. Chant. I
Om
told
Namo Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya Vayadi Tarata Sarthesya Vignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridayadi Kabaye Muyanti Yat Suraha Tejo Varimi Gramyatha Vinimayo Yatra Sargo Mrisha Dhamna Sweta Sada Hirasta Puvakam Satyam Param Dhimahi धर्म प्रोजित कैतवोत परमो निर्मत्सरां सांसदां वैद्यं वास्तवमत्तु वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रमूल्योन्मूलनम् श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिमये किं वा परेश्वरः सत्यो विद्यते तेत्तवेत्त परम शुश्रूष्य विघ्नेश्वरात् कल्पतरोगलितं फलं सुखं खादमितं भवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः
नैमिषे निमिषक्षेत्रे विषयः शौनकादयः.
This is our first canto Bhagavatam, first chapter, verses. Very good. Jai Ho. Say Panchakalpatarubhyascha.
बोल. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः.
अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद की
जय.
श्री प्रभुपाद की
Hari Bol.